going. Okay, sit yourself on the lift and then just come into a good level cross-leg position. So levelness is something that sometimes we don't really notice whether we are sitting level until we've been there for a little while. So just have a little wriggle about. Just make sure that you feel like you're evenly placed, and just spend a moment just to really draw your observation into your seat bones, into your feet, into the legs. Just observing whether one seat bone feels heavier than the other. And then if it does, just adjust the buttock flesh out to the side until you do feel level. So lift up into the chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears, look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Just spend a few moments listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Just like we are drawing our attention into the physical sensations and what they are telling us. Also draw your attention into the breath, into that feeling that as we lift the chest, we feel the chest expand with the inhalation and contract with the exhalation. I was teaching a singing class the other day, and one of the things that I was trying to get someone to use their diaphragm, and I noticed that as she was trying to as she was running out of breath, because you have to run out of breath to do a diaphragm exercise for singing, she was dropping the chest like this. So every time she was running out of breath, she was dropping the chest, and that actually stops your breath, your diaphragm from doing what it should be doing. And then if you just drop your chest, so drop your chest, just allow your chest to drop, just let the front chest really sink, and then try and take deep breaths. It's actually really hard to take a full deep inhalation. So if you really let your chest round and like become this kind of almost teenage kind of posture, it becomes a real effort to fill the lungs. So just take a few breaths in that slump, and you quickly start to feel kind of a bit anxious and a little bit exhausted, drained. And then open up the chest, lift the heart area up to the ceiling, and then take a full deep inhalation from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs. And then just observe how much easier it is to take an unrestricted breath. And unrestricted breaths give us energy. So I've been getting all my singing students to stand against the wall this week, just so that they keep the chest lifted and open and they can't drop the chest. I've been getting them to do tadasana basically. So just observe that feeling of almost joyful inhalation, that full, complete inhalation that occurs when we lift and open the chest. And as yogis, we kind of forget how important that is sometimes. So keeping the heart area lifted, keeping the collarbone broad by gently drawing the shoulder blades towards each other. Just bring your hands into Namaste. Press the palms together, lengthen from the armpits into the elbows, and maintain that lift of the chest so that you can breathe deeply. With an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Softening your jaw and your throat and your tongue. Just taking deep, non-resistant inhalations, non-resistant exhalations, keeping the chest lifted throughout the inhalation. Just allowing the chest to gently relax with the out-breath. And that's the big difference between yoga breathing and singing breathing, that if you lift the chest when you exhale, then the diaphragm does more work for singers. But for yoga, we want to feel the difference between the in-breath and the out-breath. So we allow the out-breath to lower the chest and to relax the side ribs. As long as there are no heart conditions or blood pressure issues, then at the top of the in-breath, just gently retain the breath just for a moment or two without any strain, just a second or two. And then follow that with a normal exhalation, and maybe a retention at the end of the exhalation. So what yoga teaches us is good posture, the posture of energy, the posture of breath. And by opening up the chest, we open up our energy. Very gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. And then when you're ready, just gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Just hold onto your knees. Just take some deep inhalations, allowing the chest to expand, really driving the heart area up to the ceiling. Find the end of the exhalation, not by restriction, but by expansion. And with an exhalation, draw your chest and your abdomen and your ribs to the right side. Just maintain your observation of the breath. As you turn, breathe into the side ribs. Bend your elbows out to the side a little so that you can expand into the side ribs. And then come back to the center. So hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. Take a deep inhalation and then turn with the exhalation to the left. Continuing to fill the lungs, allowing the armpit chest to expand. using your out breath to just intensify your turn. And then come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees for a moment. Just observe how that breath contributes to the boosting of your energy. How maybe the torso feels like a seedling reaching out of the earth up into the skies, up towards the sun. Continue to inhale deeply. And then just come off your left. Come onto all fours. Just have your little fingers on the edge of the mat, stretching the thumbs towards each other, really spread in the palms. Turn your toes under, and then with bent knees initially, come up into Adho Mukha Svanasana, dog down. Feel how the hands make contact with the floor. Can you direct the weight of your arms from the heels of the hands into the palms of the hands? Pressing the finger knuckles into the floor, stretching into the fingers. Bending your knees, can you tilt the seat bones and the tailbone up to the ceiling so that you draw the shoulder blades in? Just let your head hang down. Allow the chest to expand with the inhalation, breathing from the bottom of the lungs to the top. And with an exhalation, begin to slowly straighten the legs, tightening the kneecaps. Turning the fronts of the thighs in so that the backs of the thighs broaden outwards. Spend some time in the pose to observe the balance of effort between the two legs, between the two arms, between the arms and the legs, the arms and the torso and the legs. Stretching out any tiredness. And then step your feet forward, come up into a standing position. And then come into half uttanasana if you have back problems. So you can just use your arms on the kind of on a tabletop or the back of a chair. If you've got a bad back, then go into half uttanasana. Otherwise, we're going to go into full uttanasana. Whichever way you're doing it, align the edge of your feet with the edge of the mat so that your big toes are turning inwards. Activate your kneecaps. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards so that the backs of the thighs broaden outwards. Push the inner knees away from each other and lift the inner knees up towards the groin. Lift up into the chest. And then reach up to the skies with your hands. Bringing the hands wide to start off with, lifting the heart area. Breathing fully into the rib cage. If you're doing half uttanasana, keep your arms straight, come forwards with your arms straight like this. Otherwise, hook your thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows, and then come forwards, extending into the elbows, keeping the head lifted, keeping the legs straight, and then hang down. Just drawing your focus into the feet. Hit the shins back so that your weight drives into the heels. Spend a little time just to really observe how the heels make contact with the floor. Press the shins back, hit the heels into the floor, and then lift the seat bones up to the ceiling. So regardless of whether you're in half or full uttanasana, activate those legs. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, the backs of the thighs outwards. Continue to breathe in through the nose if you can, filling the bottom of the lungs to the top. Okay, release your hands down to the floor if you're in full uttanasana, and then come into half uttanasana. If you're in half uttanasana, bring your hands into your hips, and then come up. If you're in, so one hands on the hips, and then come up into tadasana. Just lift up into the chest. Breathe evenly. In through the nose and out through the nose. Bring your arms out nice wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump your feet apart. Lift up into your chest. Turn your left toes in and the right leg and foot all the way out. Turning the hips to face the front, turning the chest to face the front. Lift up into the heart area, keeping the chest broad, breathing fully into the chest. Stretch your arms outwards, and then on an out breath, go down into trikonasana. But as you go down, try not to let the right side of the chest shrink. Keep stretching from the right hip into the right armpit, turning the chest up to face the ceiling. Take deep inhalations, deep exhalations. This pose is great for clearing out the sinuses. So breathe in through the nose and out through the nose if you can. Just look down as your head over your foot. If it's not, lift the chest a little more. Push the front leg, buttock bone forwards, hit the back leg, the left leg towards the wall behind you. And then turn the chest, look up. Focusing on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying them from the top to the bottom. Just working through that sequence of observation of the physical sensation and activation in response. Reach up, come back to the center, swap the feet around, turn the right toes in and the left leg and foot all the way out. Remember, if I hold you in the pose for too long, for you, then just come out of the pose. It's not supposed to be torture. Take a deep inhalation and then Come over to the left side, turning the chest. Just breathe in fully and deeply. If you can't breathe fully and deeply, lift the chest more until you can take breaths that stick to the sides of the ribs. So just like a water butt fills with water from the bottom to the top, and the meniscus of the water touches every edge of the inside of the water butt. Let your breath do the same. Breathing in from the bottom of the lungs to the top, and like a water butt empties from the top to the bottom, empty the lungs from the top to the bottom. And then come back to the center, bring your feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together. And then come into Tadasana. Just listening to the breath, allowing the lungs to expand. Stretch your arms forwards, really spread the palms really broadly. And then turn the palms all the way out. And then like you're doing the breaststroke, stretch your arms behind you. And then bring the fingertips together and then turn the fingers up towards the ceiling. Try and get the hands towards the neck, the fingers towards the neck. You can always get hold of the opposite elbow if you really can't do this. And then draw the elbows towards the wall behind you. Lengthen from the shoulders into the elbows, and then the elbows into the heels of the hands, so that the palms come flat. And then broadly breathe into the front chest, into the back chest, into the side chest. And then step or jump the feet apart. Turn the right toes in, turn the left toes in, turn the right leg and foot all the way out. And then turn that back heel all the way out again. And then lift up into the chest. Turning that back leg like you're in Tadasana, turning the front leg inwards like you're in Tadasana. Come forwards. If you need to, you can let go of the arms and reach down to the floor. But keep the chest lifted, keep the head lifted. As you come forwards, driving forwards with the chin, keeping the hands in contact with each other. And then you can release your arms, bring your hands to the floor, and then bend the front leg, step forwards with the back leg, and then come up into Tadasana. So if it's really not possible to bring your hands into namaskarasana behind your back, just get hold of the elbows like this, because then that still keeps the front of the chest open. So we do parsvottanasana on the other side. So stretch your arms forwards, turn the palms all the way out, and then push the arms behind you, and then walk the hands up the back. So you might drop the chest initially, just to find that space. Second time, maybe you can get your hands a bit higher. And then lengthen from the shoulders into the elbows, lengthen the elbows towards the back of the room, and then the elbows in towards the heels of the hands. Breathing even deep in inhalations and exhalations. And then step the feet apart, turn the right toes in, the left leg and foot all the way out. And then turn that right heel out even more. Turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. And then come forwards, hinging at the hips, driving the chin and the chest forwards, keeping that back leg really firm, keeping the elbows winging back. And then just release your arms and then bend that front leg, step forwards with the back leg, and then come back up into siddhasana. Just lift up into the chest, spreading the fingers, spreading the palms, and then turn your palms all the way out. Just continuing to give yourself space in the armpit chest to expand with the breath. Okay, we're going to do the namaskarasana again, and this time we're going to go into, so let me quickly show you. We're just going to come into namaskarasana, and then we're going to step the feet wide apart for prasarita, padottanasana 2. Let me just quickly show you, because there's an alternative if you're not doing it. So you come forward, hinging at the hips, keeping the front chest lifted, keeping the hands together, and then bring in head down. If you're not doing that, then you can just wing the elbows towards each other, and then just come into prasarita 1, using blocks underneath your hands if you need it. You might want a block for underneath your head, so have some blocks where you might need them. So just in tadasana for a moment. Stretch your arms forwards, turn the palms all the way back, and then bring the hands back into namaskarasana. Walking the hands as high up towards the neck as you can. Maybe this time your shoulders feel, or your hands get much higher up the neck. Bring those elbows back. Lengthen from the shoulders to the elbows into the heels of the heels of the hands up into the fingertips. And then step or jump your feet wide apart, as wide as you can go. And then turn your toes. Again, straighten your legs. Left up into your chest. So really activate the legs, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. Keep the chest lifted, keep the head lifted as you come forwards. Prasarita, padottanasana 2. Keep the front chest lifted, keeping the front chest lengthening. And then bring the head down if you can. But try not to hit your weight forwards to bring your head down. And then release your arms and bring the heels of the hands in line with the heels of the feet, fingers pointing forwards. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Just come forwards into the first stage of prasarita, padottanasana. And then bring the heels of the hands down. Bend your knees. And then step or jump your feet back together. And then come back up into tadasana. Just really feel how your energy rises up. And then stretch your arms up. I'm just going to go sideways so I can stretch my arms a bit better. Breathe in through the nose, stretching the arms, keeping the arms straight. Breathing into broad, open chest. And then release your arms. Come down onto all fours. And then bring the hands shoulder width apart, step back a little, turn your toes under, and then come up, back up into Adho Mukha Svanasana, dog down. Using this as an opportunity to observe and activate. Observing the balance of action. Keep lifting the chest so that you can breathe deeply, fully, without resistance. So we're not letting the chest drop like those singers when they start to run out of breath. Keep the chest lifted and open so that we can breathe deeply, so that we can oxygenate the blood. And then come down onto your knee. Sit back on your heels. Lift up into the chest. Drawing your shoulders down. Just feel that you can continue to expand your chest with the inhalation and observe your energy. Keeping the seat bones down in contact with the heels, come forwards, keep lifting the chest like you've got your hands in namaskarasana. Keep the seat bones down and then come forward, stretching the arm. Keeping the side ribs expanding with the inhalation, keeping the front chest lifted as you come forward, keeping the chest open so that you can continue to breathe fully. If you find that when you bring your head down that you can't breathe fully, then put a block underneath your head. Or if you lose contact between the seat bones and the heels, just move the hands a little closer to the knees and then hit down onto the heels. If you can't access the heels, then use a folded blanket between the seat bones and the heels. So the breath is our energy. The breath is our life. The breath is our conduit to the present moment. The breath is the conduit to the physical body, connecting the mind into the physical body. Okay, and then just sit back on your heels. Lift up into the chest, really broadening the chest. Gather the shoulder blades together a little. And then continue to breathe into the side ribs. Breathe in from the top of the chest. From the bottom of the chest to the top. And then sit yourself on the lift that you start your session with. So whether that's folded blankets or one of these meditation cushions, just sit yourself and just, again, observe your levelness, just being cross legs for the moment. So allowing the chest to expand. So we're going to come into siddhasana. So staying on the lift, stretch your legs out to the sides. So activate the legs to start off with, like you're in konasana. Just have the hands on the fingertips on the floor, lifted up into the chest. Keeping the chest lifted and open. And then get the hand into the back of the right knee and then point the toes of that right foot and then bring the top of the foot onto the floor so that the heel is pointing up to the ceiling and it's in line with your belly button and the spine. And this knee is down on the floor. Then get hold of the back of the left knee. And then again, the top of the, point the toes, bring the top of the foot down onto the floor. And these heels, bring them in line with each other. So the knees are down on the floor. So you point, so your toes aren't, your feet aren't out like this. You point your toes away. And then just press down on the thighs, lift up into the chest. So Ian, sit a little bit higher so you can bring your knees down to the floor. Or you can just do this in normal cross legs. That's normal cross legs is fine as well. So you can just stay at this stage, or you can post the toes of the left foot through the calf and the thigh of the right leg, and then you reach through, get hold of the big toe and pull it through so that it binds into the calf and the thigh of the left foot, the left side. And then just adjust so that your knees feel as though they are level. That's it, Ian. So the higher you sit, the easier it becomes to bring the knees down, and the knees down are really important. So just feel that you're sitting evenly, and then hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. So make sure your arms aren't crammed into the sides of your ribs. If you hold onto your knees and you bend your elbows out to the side, then you can breathe into these side ribs. So look down at the floor. Just focus on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Focus on breathing evenly into both lungs and evenly out of both lungs. Keep the chest lifted. Draw your chin forwards and make the chin connect with the chest. Lift the anal sphincter up towards the diaphragm. So Mula Bandha in the perineum region and Jalandhara Bandha in the throat. Just continuing to allow the chest to expand with the inhalation and relax with the exhalation. And then we're going to slightly extend the exhalation. So we'll continue with normal inhalations, but we're going to breathe slow, deep, steady exhalations until the lungs are empty. Trying not to drop the chest too much as you exhale. Just let the chest relax. Keep the chin connected to the chest. So when you're ready, Slow, deep, steady exhalations until the lungs are empty and the sound of the breath stops, and normal inhalations, and then cycling around that sequence. Breathing into both lungs evenly, breathing out of both lungs evenly. Maintaining your mula bandha and jalandhara bandha. And then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. And release mula bandha. Release jalandhara bandha. And then just observe the energy around the top of the chest and around the arms. And then just release the legs. Just stretch them out in front and then bring the legs wide again. And then this time bring the left leg in first. Point in the toes, bringing the top of the foot onto the floor. So the heel is in line with the spine. And then bring the other leg down. So either stay in this first stage or post in toes. And then reinstate your mula bandha by lifting the anal sphincter up to the diaphragm, and jalandhara bandha by bringing the chin to make contact with the chest. So this time we're going to slightly extend the inhalation, breathing into both lungs evenly from the bottom to the top, and breathing in until the sound of the breath stops, and then normal exhalations. So whenever you're ready, just take a normal exhalation and then a slow, deep, steady inhalation, filling both lungs evenly, feeling the chest expand upwards and outwards until the sound of the breath stops, and then exhalation, and then continue with those cycles. Normal exhalation, deeper inhalation. And then just finish with a normal exhalation. And then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. Releasing Mula Bandha, releasing Jalandhara Bandha. Just take some normal inhalations, normal exhalations. And then stretch out the legs. And then come off. You'll lift. Come down into supta, padottanasana. Just laying flat into the floor. Stretch your arm, interlock your fingers over your head, and stretch your arms along the floor. Just focusing on normal inhalations, normal exhalations. Feel the broadness of the front chest. Broadness of the hips. Just listen to the breath. And then just gently release your arms, bring your hands onto your lower ribs. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Let's have a little rock from top to bottom, just giving your back a gentle massage. And then then rock yourself up into a seated position. Just for the last minute or two, just come down onto your back, have a blanket from underneath your head. Just move any equipment that might be in the way out of the way. Take your glasses off if you're wearing them. And then make sure you're in a good straight line, and then allow yourself to release into the floor. Letting go of the muscles of the arms and the legs. Just continuing to breathe evenly into the lungs. Unhook the muscles of the arms and the legs so that the body becomes heavy on the floor. And out of that heaviness, observe that feeling of energetic lightness radiating out from the bones. Just observing that lightness radiating out from the bones into the muscles. Into the organs. Just spend a moment to use the in-breath and the out-breath to distribute that feeling of energetic lightness evenly down into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the top of the head. Just basking in that feeling of energetic lightness. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, bring your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. And then roll onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into the seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in Namaste. Just a final spinal lift. Drawing your breath in through your nose and down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends, the twists and the reclining poses bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then hold on to that feeling of abundance as you release the backs of your hands down towards your knees. Palms facing upwards, and as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you've really lifted your energy. You've given yourself some good energy through the breath. So thank you very much for joining me.